Fog of War. 8. Hara smiled. You don't know what to say. Peter stood beside her, hands clenched around the metal railing atop the balcony wall. No. He turned to her, studying her face compassionately. That man, Nguyen? She nodded. My recruiter into this. Peter's eyes tracked his own thoughts. The WDF were pirates? No. Hara pursed her lips. She knew she wasn't explaining this well. The WDF was just one name for our purpose. She put her hand over his on the balcony railing. I need you to know. I'm fine. If it wasn't for Nguyen recruiting me, I'd have died on my way to meet Jake. It just took me a few years longer to get back to him. Peter opened his mouth to ask the obvious question. Hara intercepted it. I worked with Nguyen mostly. I met a couple other people, and then after I proved myself, I worked by myself. We collected information mostly. We recruited a few people, or transported them from A to B. Stole cargo sometimes, she laughed. There was this one jailbreak once. She shook her head. But we don't talk about it. She looked out over Olin again. An elevator was climbing up the closest spoke. As mayor, I was in a position to divert funds and identify recruits if ever they were needed. She looked back at Peter. And that's all I can tell you. That's how it works. But how? Peter licked his lips and found his nerve. How do you know you're not being used? You did those things, and you fought with the WDF, but you don't know who sent you or why? Hara nodded. That's right. If you only ever met a couple people, how do you know it's not the guard or pirates or, I don't know, the last old dragon and his flunkies manipulating you? Hara beamed and waved her hand out over Olin. This is how. Olin's still here. They sent me back to Jake, after a few years anyway. I got to live my life, have my kids. And when they called me back for the push, I knew what was at stake. I was willing to make the sacrifice for Jake, for my kids. Hara let her eyes wander over Olin. After it was over, Jake and I moved here where nobody knew us to start over. She reached behind her chair and picked up a vac-sealed travel bag. The only place you see white armored breachers are in comics and vids. They didn't replace the dragons or the guard, whoever they are. They let us live our lives the way we choose. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Peter did the same. The scent of lilac filled him up. And Hara turned to go. Peter followed her out. Chief Train, a couple officers, and Nguyen were waiting outside Hara's front door. On a lamppost beside them, a small, discreet panel strobed red. Olin remained on lockdown, all traffic diverted, radio silent. She looked up and down the street. No one was out. Atmospheric leaks were almost unheard of on rocks this size, but that was the story she had told her people, and they were following the rules to the letter. It couldn't last long, but it only had to last until she and Nguyen's team left. She took a deep breath. The people of Olin had put their trust in her. She was supposed to see them through times like this, and instead she was leaving them. Let me come with, Eric pleaded. You can't, Hara said. I've told you what I can. You have to trust me the rest of the way. Peter looked at Nguyen differently now. He noticed and quirked an eyebrow her way. She ignored him. How did you make out with the list? List? Peter asked. Train shook his head. I passed on your message. All 6 accepted. They'll meet you at the docks. His lip curled in distaste. 3 of them have kids, Hara. I got good officers with no kids. Why not them? That's how it works, Hara said, her voice as cold and sharp as a scalpel. Eric Train's eyes were bright with tears he wouldn't let fall. Okay, fine. But I'm an excellent shot. Like to think I make good decisions. A smile tried to kickstart itself on his face. Present company accepted. Hara stepped forward and placed her hands on his shoulders. She had to work at it before she could meet his gaze. "You're like family to me and Jake and the kids. That's why I need you here." "You swore an oath to Olin." "So did you," Chief Train shot back. She nodded and stepped back. "I know it, but I know you'll do the job just as well." Train's face went wide. "Hara, no." She pulled out her wireless. "Because I know you'll take care of my people like family." "Damn it, Hara," Train finally sobbed. "I swore to Jake I'd protect you." "Olin needs you more," she said. "Jake will too, if I don't." Their eyes locked, both creased with pain. Without another word, Chief Train pulled out his wireless and held it close to hers. "I do solemnly swear," she pleaded. And 2 shaky breaths later, Train repeated the first words of the mayor's oath of office, and all the words that followed. This is your writer and narrator, John Muro. For more information, please visit servingworlds.com. Thanks for listening.